Hello everyone. Due to pandemic COVID-19, you guys are not able to attend the actual class in your school. So here we come with a solution conducting a virtual class. I'm your English teacher and my name is Muhammadullah. I'm going to start with the first chapter. In this video, I'll read the chapter for you and will give you a brief summary about the story. Are you ready for that? So let's get started.
Here we go. The first chapter, three questions. A king has three questions and he is seeking answers to them. What are the questions? Does the king get what he wants? Let me give you a summary about the chapter first, then we'll start reading. Alright? Once there was a king who thought that to be a successful ruler, he must know the answer of three questions. What are the three questions? Here are the questions. What is the right time to begin something? Second one, which people should he listen to? And the third one, what is the most important thing for him to do? So the king sends messengers in all directions to find people who could answer these questions. Many wise men come, but they all answers differently. For the first question, some of them suggest that the king should follow a timetable, while there are others who feel that it's not possible to decide the right time for doing something in advance. Similarly, for the second question, some wise men say that the king should follow his counselors, while others think it is the priest whom the king should listen to. Then there are those who feel that it's the doctor the king should obey, while there are many in favor of soldiers. And for the third question, some wise men advise science should be the highest priority for the king, while others say religion. The king isn't satisfied with any of the suggestions given to him. He then decides to meet a hermit known for his wisdom. The king visits him in a simple clothes and leaves behind his bodyguards and horse so that his identity is not disclosed. The hermit lives in a hut and is digging the ground when the king reaches there. The king asks him the three questions but receives no reply. As the hermit is old and weak, so the king offers his help and starts digging for him. After some times, he asks again, but not gets answered. The king continues digging the ground till evening. In the evening, the king again requests the hermit to answer his questions, but then someone comes running towards the hermit's hut. The king turns around. He sees a wounded man. Blood is profusely coming out of his wound, and then he faints. The king himself washes his wound with his handkerchief until the bleeding stops. The man asks for water, and the king gives it to him. It is now evening, and both of them take him inside the hut. The man is lying quietly on the bed, and as the king is tired, he sleeps on the floor. When he wakes up, the injured bearded man apologizes to him. The king is shocked. Why he is asking apology? He reveals that he was his enemy because the king had killed his brother and seized his property. He took the opportunity to take revenge. He planned to kill the king as he knew that the king came all alone here. He planned to kill him on his way home. But as he did not turn up till the evening, he came out of the hiding place and confronted his guard, who attacked him fiercely as they recognized him. But he is now indebted to the king, who turned out to be his savior. The king then goes to look for the hermit, who is sowing seeds in the beds that they have dug the day before. He requests the hermit for the last time to answer his questions. To this, the hermit replies that the king has already found the answers. If he would not have pitied hermit's condition the day before, then the man would have attacked him on his way, and he might have lost his life. So the most important time was when he was digging the bed, and the hermit was the most important man. Alright, let's start now the reading portion. The thought came to a certain king that he would never fail if he knew three things. These three things were: what is the right time to begin something? Which people should he listen to? What is the most important thing for him to do? The king therefore sent messengers throughout his kingdom, promising a large sum of money to anyone who would answer these three questions. Many wise men came to the king, but they all answered his questions differently. In reply to the first question, some said the king must prepare a timetable and then follow it strictly. Only in this way, they said, could he do everything at its proper time. Others said that it was impossible to decide in advance the right time for doing something. The king should notice all that was going on, avoid foolish pleasures, avoid foolish pleasures, and always do whatever seemed necessary at that time. Yet others said that the king needed counsel of wise men who would help him act at the proper time. This was because one man would find it impossible to decide correctly without help from others, the right time for every action. But then others said that there were some things which could be urgent. These things could not wait for the decision of the council. In order to decide the right time for doing something, it is necessary to look into the future, and only magicians could do that. The king therefore would have to go to magicians. In their answers to the second question, some said that the people most necessary to the king were his counselors. Others said the priest. A few others chose the doctors. A few others chose the doctors. And yet others said that his soldiers were the most necessary. To the third question, some said science, others chose fighting, and yet others religious worship. As the answer to his questions, as the answers to his questions were so different, the king was not satisfied and gave no reward. Instead, He decided to seek the advice of a certain hermit who was widely known for his wisdom. The hermit lived in a wood which he never left. He saw no one but simple people, and so the king put on ordinary clothes. Before he reached the hermit's hut, the king left his horse with his bodyguard and went on alone. As the king came near the hermit's hut, he saw the hermit digging the ground in front of his hut. He greeted the king and continued digging. The hermit was old and weak, and as he worked, he breathed heavily. The king went up to the hermit and said, I have come to you, wise hermit, to ask you to answer three questions. How can I learn to the right thing at the right time? How can I learn to do the right thing at the right time? Who are the people I need most? And what affairs are the most important? The hermit listened to the king but did not speak. He went on digging. You're tired, said the king. Let me take the spade and work in your place. Thanks, said the hermit, giving the king his spade. Then he sat down on the ground. When the king had dug two beds, he stopped and repeated his questions. The hermit gave no answer, but stood up, stretching out his hand for the spade, and said, Now you rest, and let me work. But the king did not give him the spade and continued to dig. 1 hour passed, then another. The sun went down behind the trees, and at last the king stuck the spade into the ground and said, I came to you, wise man, for an answer to my questions. If you can give me no answer, tell me so, and I will return home. Here comes someone running, said the hermit. The king turned round and saw a bearded man running towards them. His hands were pressed against his stomach, from which blood was flowing. When he reached the king, he fainted and fell to the ground. The king and the hermit removed the man's clothing and found a large wound in his stomach. The king washed and covered it with his handkerchief, but the blood would not stop flowing. The king redressed the wound until at last the bleeding stopped. The man felt better and asked for something to drink. The king brought fresh water and gave it to him. By this time, the sun had set and the air was cool. The king, with the hermit's help, carried the wounded man into the hut and laid him on the bed. The man closed his eyes and lay quiet. The king, tired by his walk and the work he had done, lay down on the floor and slept through the night. When he awoke, it was several minutes before he could remember where he was or who the strange bearded man lying on the bed was. Forgive me, said the bearded man in a weak voice. When he saw that the king was awake, I do not know you and have nothing to forgive you for, said the king. You do not know me, but I know you. I I am that enemy of yours who swore revenge on you because you put my brother to death and seized my property. I knew you had gone alone to see that hermit, and I made up my mind to kill you on your way home. But the day passed and you did not return, so I left my hiding place and I came upon your bodyguard, who recognized me and wounded me. I escaped from him, but I should have died if you had not dressed my wounds. I wished to kill you, and you have saved my life. Now, if I live, I will serve you as your most faithful servant and will order my sons to do the same. Forgive me. The king was very happy to have made peace with his enemy so easily and to have won him over as a friend. He not only forgave him, but said he would send his servants and his own doctor to look after him. His own doctor to look after him, and he promised to give back the man his property. Leaving the wounded man, the king went out of the hut and looked round for the hermit. Before going away, he wished once more to get answers to his questions. The hermit was on his knees, sowing seeds in the beds that had been dug the day before. The king went up to the hermit and said, "For the last time, I beg you to answer my questions, wise man." "You have already been answered," said the hermit, still bending down to the ground and looking up at the king as he stood before him. "How have I been answered? What do you mean?" "Do you not see?" replied the hermit. "If you had not pitied my weakness yesterday and had not dug these beds for me, you would have gone away. Then that man would have attacked you and you would have wished you had stayed with me. So the most important time was when you were digging the beds. And I was the most important man, and to do me good was your most important business. Afterwards, when the man ran to us, the most important time was when you were caring for him, because if you had not dressed his wounds, he would have died without having made peace with you. So he was the most important man, and what you did for him was your most important business. And what you did for him was your most important business. Remember then, there is only one time that is important, and that time is now. It is the most important time because it is the only time we have any power to act. The most necessary person is the person you are with at a particular moment. For no one knows what will happen in the future and whether we will meet anyone else. The most important business is to do that person good because we were sent into this world for that purpose alone. All right?
Okay, so that's all for today's class. In our next class, we'll cover up the explanation, vocabulary, and finally, we'll solve the exercise. See you next time. Till then, take care. Bye bye.